Notts County Talk, we are live for episode 102 of the Pavis Perspective, another Thursday, 7:30, and another show. As always, we are powered by Better Bytes computers. We wouldn't be able to do the content we do without their help. And go in and use the code Pavis Perspective, and you'll get discount on either computer repairs, computer equipment, or refurbished computers. Fantastic company. We couldn't recommend them highly enough. And we don't just say that because they sponsor us. They're generally a fantastic Notts County fan-run company. If you're listening back on Spotify, please do drop us that 5-star review. And it's a big one today, George, isn't it? It's a massive preview.
Yeah.
For me, I know this might be controversial. I might go to say I've looked forward to this game more than the Mansfield game, and that's not just because we lost. I think I said it a few episodes back.
No, not for me.
Really?
Yeah, for me, it was like reigniting the flame of the Nottinghamshire derby. Whereas we've played Wrexham quite a few times, haven't we, in the last 4 years?
Yeah, but massive, huge games against Wrexham.
Yeah, massive games. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it, but it's not for me. Mansfield just pips the excitement before the game. Hopefully, it doesn't match the excitement after the game.
No, let's hope not. Because that was a shocker, wasn't it? That was an absolute shocker. So who have we got with us this evening? We've got Samuel, Ken, Maggie, Athenian Pie, thanks for joining us, David, Ian, Shane, Helen, Len, Stephen, Chris, Jamie, Dale, Ian again, James, thank you for joining us. Already got 100 people tuning in. I think it's going to be a big one this evening. If you are a Wrexham fan tuning in, you got any questions, let us know. We have a Wrexham representative coming on very shortly, which still means we've not had a Barrow fan or an Accrington fan. But George, I received a message the other day. Might have an Accrington fan for the next time we play him. Possibly.
Really?
I might do. I might have an Accrington fan. And this isn't, that's not, it's almost certain. Almost certain we're an Accrington fan, which is great news. Barrow fan, still not quite there.
It's not the owner, is it?
I wish it was.
He was pretty loose on Twitter the other night, wasn't he? I thought.
Yeah, I reckon we'd get him on. Yeah, I reckon we say we'll give you a platform, we'll get you on. And finally, before we do start talking about the Gillingham and the Newport game, obviously, our polls that we put in are huge. They're always very relevant. And we might have done this one back in like episode 40, but I think it's come back up in our group chat and it's an important one. It has to be asked. What's the best carb? Is it potato, rice?
It's not come up on mine again.
Is it not? Well, your phone's broken. Potatoes, rice, bread, or pasta. I've already got my vote in.
Strange.
It should be up there. Let us know if you can't see it.
I think I know why.
George.
Tom.
Gillingham. It rained for the first 2 minutes and then bright skies and a good performance. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it was good. Look, to go away to Gillingham, we started the season really well, and get a result is always good. But I think we just played them at quite a good time, to be honest. That obviously they'd sat their manager. If my memory serves me right, I'm sure they just sat their sort of caretaker manager as well, going into the game against us. They look quite good. They had a few good individual players. There was a few concerns for me. I think their goal, it was so preventable. The amount of space that their player was given. And look, it doesn't really matter now because we've got 3 points. But I mean, in a different game, it could have mattered. So I think you have to highlight that point. Really good day out there, wasn't it, Gillingham?
Yeah, it was. It was new ground for me. Apart from their away, and I think the rest of the ground's pretty decent.
Yeah,
it's not a bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Going back to that mistake you were talking about, what impressed me is, yes, we conceded, and it was a shocking mistake. Like, it wasn't a mistake, was it? It was just poor defending. 2 roulettes in the box, and then he took it away. There's that much room left that Slocum has no chance to save it. But that's the only error all game. And yes, we were punished, but even in this league, like we talk about, we make quite a few mistakes this season and we're punished. But to make one error or one like lapse in concentration, we're punished. This season, in most games, we've been making 3 or 4. Now, I think back to the Newport game on Tuesday. I don't remember one glaring error. Do you?
No, not glaring.
Not to the level we've been doing.
No, I think Jim did quite a shocker when he came on.
I remember that.
He just had the ball in midfield. It was a straightforward pass and he just passed it straight to a Newport player.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like one that's created a massive goal to score opportunity,
Hmm.
like a huge one, like we've been seeing in games. And I make that one mistake or big mistake in the last 2 games, which is a massive, massive improvement. We'll talk about June as well, because obviously we were right behind the goal. Lewis McCarry, what an absolute screamer on his, like, I think it might be his EFL debut, definitely in the league for us. But he came on for Brindley, who I think pulled up with a hamstring injury. For me, I don't know what you think. Well, I'll ask you: is he now a nailed-on starter in this team?
I think he's definitely made a case, because it wasn't just a one-game performance. Because obviously he's gone on to Newport then and built on that performance, and he played really well against Newport as well. And he's almost perfect for what we wanted, I think.
Yeah.
Because he can play it out, he can score from range. He's got a good passing range as well. So yeah, I was really impressed with McCarry. And I'll tell you who was impressive as well at Gillingham, Toby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say it. Assist of the season.
His cross was unbelievable, wasn't it? I don't think he got much credit for that.
No.
It was a lot better than I when I saw the replay. It's a lot better than I remember seeing it on the day as well.
Yeah.
A lot of dip, a lot of pace on that, which, we saw Aaron the man in a very strange position, an advanced position. I don't necessarily think I'd say it massively worked, but in terms of whole team performance, it didn't detract from anything. Aaron's for me is better as a wing back or a winger, but I don't know. I think overall, I think it was a very, very good performance, a solid win, felt like a big win. Celebration in front of the away end were great. And like you say, Gillingham, a good time to play them, but we limited them to very, very little. The only player I thought on their team I really like the look of, Johnny Williams.
Yeah, I agree. He did look really good, didn't
he? Yeah. And then also Macaulay Bonne up front won everything, didn't he? Which was
handful.
Yeah, it was. That's the word I'd use, a handful. That's almost what we don't have. But then going into the Newport game, we see a striker we haven't seen much. We see Junior Marias. And I thought his link-up play, I mean, he should have scored 2, shouldn't he?
Yes.
But his link-up play, what do you reckon's that?
Yeah, it's definitely important, isn't it, to sort of be involved in the game as he was. But I'd say he didn't sleep much Tuesday night.
Do you reckon? Even though...
Yeah, but 2 massive chances.
They were verging on open goals, weren't they?
Strikers will remember chances like that for a long time.
Yeah. Would you have put it away?
Hard to say. In my prime, maybe.
In your prime. Before maybe. In your prime. Got a comment here. I think Marias has been fantastic. Yeah, I really do, because he's come in. Let's be honest. There's no expectations around Marias. I don't think he came in, barely played through injury. He was at mid-table National League side when we signed him. I think he was there for backup when Kedwin was injured and Maka was sort of carrying the load on his own. But I think he's a decent player, and I kind of thought we needed reinforcements there. But I don't know how long Kedwin's got, do you? Until he's back.
Foreseeable future.
Is that all it says? So
no updates, is there? Really?
There are no updates. No, there are no updates. But yeah, I just think Marias, we're okay with him. We've got Rich coming on in a couple of minutes from the Rob Ryan Red Wrexham podcast, and I was talking. I don't know if a few people have said they listened to that today. Well, I was on it for about 10 minutes or so, and I was sort of saying on that. I don't know if you agree, George, but I think we need to strengthen still in January if we want to stay up at the top. And I know we saw a very stretched team, but I don't think Newport were very good.
No, I agree. I do agree. I've said that quite a lot this season, to be fair. I think our initial run of games was quite straightforward, wasn't it, really? But yeah, I mean, I think it's always good. When you're on top, you still have to change. Like the prime example, and I don't really like to talk about the Premier League too much, but like Liverpool, like they were flying, and they were the only team really that have in the last I don't know how many years gone toe to toe with Man City, and pipped into a title. They've just dropped off massively because they've not improved the squad. They've not brought in players really that we're up to level, and I think that goes for any level. I think we've always got to be looking to improve where we can and change things, because look, you get a bit of an emotional attachment, don't you, to some players?
Yeah.
And you have a bit more forgiveness for players that have played well in the past. But I think football, it's cutthroat, isn't it? And sometimes if there is a better player that can be bought in for a player that you might like, it might be one of those where you think, why has that player been bought in? But if they improve the squad, why not?
I think it's especially, after you've just been promoted with the squad and you see things like the instant attachment you get to, like, let's say, for example, Jody Jones scoring the winner in the Bournemouth game, or Aidan Baldwin drawing his level in that game. Do you know what I mean? Like, the attachment you get from one moment, they could have been awful for like majority of the season. And if Junior would have come on and scored a winner, do you know what I mean? You'd be attached and you wouldn't want to let them go. So I think it is very difficult. And a lot of these players, like, I don't think we've got any player in the squad currently that played poorly last season. Obviously, in game to game, but on the whole, I think we were very, very good. So I think you're very good at that, to be fair. You always have been on the channel, like, just saying when players need to be moved on, or when you don't think they're, you're quite cutthroat with that. Whereas I definitely get a bit more, like, attached to some players. Like, I'd still have Sam Graham playing every week. I would. What a player.
Where is he? Why have you not brought him back in?
I don't know. Surely it's time to bring him back in. Surely it's time to bring him.
About this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. Things I think about. Here's a comment from Dale. What does Thomas keep in those boxes over his right shoulder? These ones here.
You don't want to know.
3 points in the top one. Saving that for Mansfield away. And I got this big one here. I got 6 points here. That's for Wrexham home and away. And I'll be bringing those out on Saturday morning. But yeah, that's all I keep in them, to be honest. Let's have a look. Any more comments before we get Rich in? If you do have a question for Rich, Wrexham related, we're fairly kind on here. So please, keep them as decent questions, and we'll try and put a few to Rich. But let's get him in. Hi, Rich. How you doing, mate?
Good evening. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. Thanks for joining us on our podcast as well this week, Tom. It was great to have you on. And yeah, I think good point you both made there about sort of sentiment with players. I think that's something that we've been maybe getting to terms with this season as well. Like, you non-league heroes, if you want to be getting promoted from League Two, you've got to be a bit ruthless at times, haven't you? And someone like Sam Dolby for us has had a difficult start to the campaign. He's a little bit better now, but because he scored a 98th minute winner at Aldershot, which is one of those games where you're probably checking your phone and it looked like drop points.
Yeah,
we love him for that, but he wasted big chances in that Notts game as well at the race course. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, being in League Two, because the quality has gone up a bit.
It definitely has.
I think keeping on that point, just while we're starting on that point as well, I think it's interesting to see how the managers manage that situation as well. Do you know, if they do bring a player in and all of a sudden a starting player is stripped from the squad, the manager's got to have sort of the bottle to do it, and then hope that the player reaction isn't negative as well. So it is difficult, I think. But
yeah, I think that's Neil Ardley and to some extent Ian Birchnell. They were our last two managers before Luke Williams, Rich. They had favourites, 100%. They had favourites.
Yeah,
that's difficult because eventually fan favourites aren't fan favourites anymore, and they keep getting picked. So yeah, I think we will see a few new ones in January. I'm not sure about yourself, but we definitely need to. So we sit second, you sit third. On paper, we can't either have anything to moan about, can we? But how's your start to the season been?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think our podcast this week sort of hit the nail on the head, really. Not to gloat too much, was that you've got to take a step back and look at where we both come from. We both got promoted. I know externally, loads of the media were saying these two got to be right up there at the end. But as we know, fans following our teams, it never works out like that. I think you need to be grateful and take a step back and realise, second and third, considering that both teams have had moments where we've looked poor. We've both sort of had starts where we feel we could have played better in games. Some key players have been missing. We've both had some underperforming players at times as well. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant to be here. And I think a lot of Wrexham fans, maybe the longer term ones, certainly would have been like, we want to get promoted. But if we had a season of sort of establishing ourselves in League Two and went again next season, then that would be fine as well. But to be third at this stage, the table is now sort of looking like a bit more realistic. I think I saw the stat this week that this time last year, the top three finished as they were, basically in the same order. And I think we said this on our podcast, didn't we, Tom? That I think the top three coming in the season will be what it is now plus Mansfield. One of those teams will miss out and go into the playoffs. The other three will be the ones who get automatic. So I think it's starting to sort of settle a bit more. We're seeing sort of some patterns in play and results, and I think Notts and Wrexham should both be delighted with what they're doing so far, because it's easy for people outside to say those two should be getting promoted or should be right up there, but to actually do it is a completely different sort of kettle of fish.
Yeah, you asked me who the best team we played are, and I said begrudgingly 100% Mansfield, and then close behind those Swindon. Who's the best team you've come up against? You've obviously played Mansfield. I feel like I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, I think if I don't say Stockport, who destroyed us 5-0, then I'm just being absolutely, crazy. Stockport destroyed us that day. We had no answer to what they were doing. We started the game okay. We had lots of individual errors. I do think the scoreline got out of hand because we were particularly poor. They played well, as not going to take anything from them. And Mansfield as well. They were so well organised and looked so threatening. We got a point there, 0-0 draw. And yeah, I think those are the two teams that really do stand out for me. And, no disrespect, but I think that the games against teams we've played kind of recently, you look at Sutton, you look at Grimsby, they were a bit more straightforward. And I think eventually both Wrexham and Notts will start getting into the habit of sort of brushing aside teams you expect to be bottom half. And then it'll just be a case of who manages to take more points against those around us and just not dropping points as well. I mean, if you look at this weekend, we've already been destroyed by Stockport. We've got a point at Mansfield. We've drawn with Swindon. So, if we can avoid defeat this weekend, then it's a pretty good record, bar the Stockport game against the teams near the top.
Yeah, we haven't really played teams up at the top. We're starting to play them now as like the season's going on, but I look at the top of the league as I just get it up next to me now. We're yet to play Stockport. We don't play you until Saturday. We haven't played Crewe. We played Accrington. We played Accrington, haven't we? So we're starting to play those teams. But I think it's interesting that you say like we might start to see us beating teams lower down. I think for me, Tuesday night was the first time and the only time this season I've almost felt like it was back with the pattern of the National League. Like they came to offer nothing. They had absolutely nothing. They had 198 fans, which is decent on a Tuesday night, but like with the crowds we've been seeing at Meadow Lane, our Mansfields and teams like that even Swindon bought a lot. I just think that they didn't have any answer to us, and their manager basically said they've got better players than we've got, and the result was there. So yeah, I think we will start to see us and you just ticking those off. Rich, Ian's question is, are you making a trip on Saturday?
Yeah, I am. I'm delighted to be making the trip. But I think it'll be my fourth visit to Meadow Lane. Never seen us win there. Only seen us get one draw. That was when Devontae Redmond scored a few years ago. We got a 1-1 draw. I think that was like an early kickoff on a Sunday or something, or a Saturday. Was it like a midday kickoff on a Sunday? Maybe that game, 3-4 years ago. But yeah, I'll be making the trip. Loads of Wrexham fans are, and the novel. I'm not going to say the novelty, but obviously, as you said, the good thing we're getting to League Two, we get to play new clubs, we get to go to new grounds, but sort of the novelty of playing Notts hasn't worn off whatsoever. It still is a massive game for Wrexham fans. One that's fairly localish, it's a couple of hours away. We'll travel in great numbers, and we get a good allocation there. I think a few more tickets were made available on Thursday. Actually, I think they'll probably go quite quickly as well. And yeah, really looking forward to it. It's a great day out, great city, proper stadium as well, to be in. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, good news. Hopefully it is a good game. Obviously, we'll talk about the predictions soon, whether there'll be lots of goals or it'll just be one of those that there isn't many. But before we go on to talk about your team and our team and the players, this is a question that's quite interesting to me. And I'll tell you what I thought in a second. But another different Ian says, how long in this journey do you think your manager will last? And before you answer, I will put mine in there just so you know. And I think George is very similar to me. I didn't think he would make the end of last season. I thought you would go up with him sacked around November. Then you obviously went up. I don't think he'll make it to the end of this season, personally. I think, George, you're very similar to me.
No, I was saying
Or
this
you
to you on Tuesday. I was saying this to you on Tuesday. I struggle to say I can sack a manager. Look, I understand there's probably individual brilliance on the pitch that's changing the game for you at times. Reading from Twitter and some of the things that your fans are saying, but a manager that's got your club promoted on the amount of points that you did, and to be now third in the league, I understand there can be frustrations with performances and stuff. But if the results are there, like, why? I don't really get it.
Yeah, I think it was a tough start for Parky because obviously the results weren't there when he first came in, and the style of football was very particular. I do think that sometimes we get shoehorned. We play to our strengths, set pieces, long balls. But I do think that particularly sort of second half of last season and up until now, we have kind of refined our play a bit more because Ben Toes has been out of the team. So the long throw is kind of nullified anyway. It's not really a thing as much anymore. He might play at the weekend because of injury. And our corners are, we have a lot of them, but they're very, very rarely on target or come to fruition. So I do think that sometimes we get labelled as a long ball team where we can put, that's our strength. So we do that a lot. But I do think there's a lot more to sort of Parky's repertoire. Interesting though, like you said there, because I think a lot of our problems do stem from the fact that he's so well drilled into a 3-5-2, and that's never ever going to change. We play 3-5-2 every single week. Maybe sometimes during a game we'll switch it up and go 4 at the back, but it's 3-5-2, 3-5-2. And, I think a lot of our problems can stem from that because our play is all about getting the ball from back to front as quickly as you can. It's all about those transitions, winning it high and just pinging the ball forward, trying to bypass the midfield at times. And the further you go up the league or the leagues, if that system basically means you're playing as underdogs or you're playing as a team that doesn't have control of matches. We're good at sort of bombarding teams, but we still find it sometimes difficult to actually break them down just by obliterating them with possession. So the further you go up the leagues, I do think our style of play will need to change. And I guess the question is, if Phil Parkinson is so rigid with his 3-5-2 with quick transitions, then there might come a stage where he is kind of not outdated, but doesn't fit the vision of what the club need to do next. In terms of how long he's got, I think I would be shocked myself, if he got sacked this season, because I do think a lot of fans still are of the mindset that, look, if we don't go up, it's not a disaster. I know we spent a lot of money, but it wouldn't be a disaster. But, if we stagnated in League Two, maybe next season, it didn't look like we'd go up then maybe there would be a change. But personally, and there's no sort of insight on this, I can imagine us sort of getting to League One, being okay, sort of mid-table, low mid-table in League One, and then making a change there. But, I do think that, this is a guy who got 111 points. I think since the documentary's come out as well, people have seen how much he really cares. And I'm not expecting you to have watched it that much, but he comes across really well and he does really care. And we've been guilty in the past of loving a manager who comes in and sort of singing their name too quickly and chanting it's their red and white army or whatever. For Parky, it was sort of a slow start, kind of tough love. But right now, I think every Wrexham fan is Parky in, really. And he's got enough repertoire, enough sort of in the back catalogue now that we will give him time and we can come good. Do you know what I mean? It's, like I said, I think the interesting thing for Wrexham is the players will never turn on the owners. Maybe they will one day, but the fans will have turned on the owners, and because the fans will never say Reynolds out, McElhenney out, the scapegoat's your manager or your players. So that's why I think Parky sometimes gets sort of unfair criticism because you're never going to criticise the owners really at Wrexham, are you?
What I thought, I made the prediction, both those predictions at the start of the season that he wouldn't be there. I was fairly sure that the late goals wouldn't continue in League Two.
Yeah,
I thought it was genuinely down to, like, we played some teams last season, can't think off the top of my head, that weren't even full time. Maybe
sort of them tiring out or
worn out. But again, it's like it's happened. I think Salford, I think Sutton on Saturday, like it almost feels like a repeat. Not to the same level, because last year was as a joke. It was like...
Yeah. Well, even the Swindon game, we were 5-2 down in that. Maybe we came out to draw 5-5 this season.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something... And I don't want to sort of... We are our own club, but it kind of reminds me of like United under Ferguson, where you just sense, and it's happened so often now, that the players are confident they're going to get a chance. The fans believe there's going to be a chance. And you just always feel that if we're attacking that tech end with all the fans behind it in the second half and we need a goal, it's not even sort of becoming a surprise anymore. You just feel like it's going to happen. And I think part of that is the mentality that the players know they've done it before. The fans know they've done it before. I think the opponents know it as well, because, Sutton defended so well and they were so resolute and they were getting rid of the ball all the time. Okay, it's a moment of magic that wins the game for us on Tuesday night, but it felt inevitable. And the weirdest thing is when Lee scored, it was amazing, but I wasn't even surprised anymore. And I think it sort of snowballs now where you start to believe that hype. And I know it's not sort of spiritual or anything, and there's no sort of magic sort of at play, but the players are so superstitious. They probably think that, that they think, we're going to get a goal because we always do. And that's the sort of self-confidence that I think ourselves and we just have this knack for winning games. And we did that all last season. What Wrexham not now do is win, win, win. And that is why I think we've been so good this season, because the players are so confident.
Yeah. Interesting point. I think ours is not necessarily scoring 8 goals. I think our belief is keep playing the same way and it will come. And obviously hasn't happened every game, but I think back to 30 seconds until we're out of the playoffs against Bournemouth and we're still passing it around the back and working an opening and we score.
And again, like Josh said before, though, I know you don't want to compare to the Premier League, but that's literally what Man City do. If they're losing a game in the last minute or they need a goal, Pep Guardiola doesn't say, let's go long ball, does he? He says, let's get out to the wing, let's stick to what you do, because you're good enough and the moment will come and you'll take it. And that's what Knots do. That's what you do. You're so good at it, so you've got to play to your strengths.
Yeah, interesting styles. Because we play the same, you say 3-5-2, we're 3-5-2. So we'll get onto the players then. I've got a question I thought would come up from Charlie for you, which it says, what are your thoughts on Bond and O'Connell being out for Saturday? Now, if I looked at those 2 names last season, I'd have thought huge misses. Is that the same this season?
Yeah, I think Ryan Barnett is still out and out our best sort of attacking wing back. The problem is Anthony Ford's, he's been out of the team for a number of different reasons, some personal ones and some just injury. And he will go into Saturday undercooked. He hasn't played. I can't remember the last time Anthony Ford played. It'll be weeks since he last played for Wrexham. So it would be a huge ask to throw him in there. He is our more defensive wing back on the right, so that could work. But I wouldn't be surprised if Parky maybe repurposed Andy Cannon or James Jones, who are typically central midfielders, to right wing back and just gave them more defensive duties, because the other option would be Jacob Mendy, who you scored the second goal when we met you last time at the racecourse. He's a very attacking left fullback. So to play him on the right, I think is asking for trouble. He came on against Mansfield, or did he even play the entire match against Mansfield there, though? And he was good. He was decent, but his shortcomings were obvious, because every time he got to the byline, he was looking to cut back inside. And I just don't think we can get away with it this weekend. O'Connell had a tough start to the season. His performances were poor, but since he came back in, particularly against Bradford last Saturday, he was immense. He was our man of the match at Bradford. He was a proper colossus there. And again, sorry to gloat too much, but it was his amazing sort of rugby pass where he chipped it over the Notts defence, remember, at the race course and raced through. He can play football as well as sort of being a robust defender. So I think he's a big loss. But, as I've said sort of all season, Wrexham don't have the best 11 players in the league. There's other teams who have brilliant players, and we all know who they are. But I do think that we have one of the very best squads, if not the best squad in terms of depth. Because you look at Saturday, Ben Tozer will come in for O'Connell, and he was our captain last season. And he'd played every single second of every league game when we got 111 points. So it's not exactly a downgrade. So, yeah, I think that we can't complain too much, because you can't boast about having good squad depth and then cry too much when a few players are sidelined for injury, really. I think that, we've got enough there, and, we're in a very luxury position that lots of teams aren't in. So I don't think we can complain too much about injuries.
George, what about our squad depth?
What squad depth?
There you go. I think we discussed this, Rich, on yours briefly. But George, does that? I don't know. Concern? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I watched Luke's presser earlier, and he was sort of talking about players being ready to come in and stuff like that. And the way the reporter asked the question, it's like he didn't want to offend the players by saying they were sort of fringe players or whatever. And not neither do we really, but there are players in there that wouldn't be getting game time if we had a fully fit squad. And then I look at the team on Tuesday. It's a decent team, isn't it? But we are down quite a few players on what would be used to be seeing, and the bench didn't really have anything exciting on it, if that makes sense. So we didn't have anyone that could really come on and change a game. In the end, obviously, the game's comfortable, and we're bringing on like youth players. So it's good to see. But, you know, in a game such as the weekend against Wrexham, I'd be a little bit more concerned because not having that sort of threat off the bench is obviously a big concern, because I'm sure you guys have got plenty of threat off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, you can already predict that on the hour mark, it'll probably be Stephen Fletcher coming on for Ollie Palmer. And, you know, Fletcher's already sort of a cult hero of Wrexham fans. He's been brilliant every time he's come on and made an impact. So, I like I said, that's why I don't think we can complain too much about a couple of players being out injured, because we still have a really stacked bench. And, you know, Luke Young could be there, who's still officially the club captain. You know, I think we are very, very privileged with what we've got in our reserve sort of options. So it could make a difference. If the game's level going into those final stages, then, you know, the benches could be the impact. And that was the case on Tuesday night. We rested loads of players against Sutton, and then we brought on a triple sub of Stephen Fletcher, Elliot Lee and Sam Dolby, and they all made the difference in the end.
Yeah, Elliot Lee and Paul Mullin, obviously the two players I'm concerned about. But if I was to pick a third, slightly less obvious, I would have 100% said Stephen Fletcher. I'm guessing you're thinking the main two for us, Langstaff and McGoldrick.
Yeah, well, ever since you mentioned Jody Jones on our podcast, I'm starting to worry about him as well. But yeah, I mean, we know what Langstaff does. He only needs half a chance and he'll get a goal. And McGoldrick, yeah, he's a player who should not be playing in League Two. I think we all know that. Like, that is a sensational signing. And also, I mean, my co-host Nath, he went to watch you when you played Salford away. I think was that the Friday night game, and he was saying Dan Crowley was the guy who stood out the most. And you look at his pedigree, he looks like a really good player. And yeah, I think I said on our podcast this week, like, we need to respect you, not fear you too much, because I think both sets of fans will be looking at each other's team saying, he's good, he's good, he's good, he's good. So I think it comes down to who on the day is feeling more confident. And it's about playing your own game, not about I think it's almost not about trying to stop your opponents, but just being confident that your best players can do it on the day themselves.
Yeah, we're also discussing that maybe you're not coming into it in the best form. I think any form's out the window for this because it is almost like a derby. It's evolved into a rivalry. And I just think, like, yeah, I don't think whatever the last result was will matter at all for either side. I just think we both teams that will just completely go for it. And a little bit, like, the first half of the race course was very edgy and nervy.
Yeah.
And obviously it took a free kick, which is in George's top 5 moments of his life, I think. He was saying, that'll be away and bossed up.
Yeah, it's a quiet half time, that one, for us.
Yeah.
It really kicks in the teeth. But it probably helps us in a weird way, because we're good at coming from behind and having that sort of siege mentality. Whereas if it had been 1-0 us and we're having to hold on, it could have been a completely different story. In a way, the fact we got to come back worked to our favour in a weird way. But yeah, I think it's what is also interesting this weekend is, you know exactly how we're going to play. We know exactly how you're going to play. We know your strengths. You know our strengths. We know your weaknesses. You know our weaknesses. So it's just really interesting, because it's just going to come down to, I think, which manager risks it the most. And I know it's high risk, high reward, but I think that's the way the game will go.
Yeah. Right then, we'll finish with, Rich, your score prediction for the game. What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
Because I'm a pessimistic Wrexham fan, I just can't envisage being there and winning. I can't imagine what my train home would be like. I can't picture it yet. So I'm gonna go. I think it'll be 1-1, but yeah, I think 1-1. I think that would be it. Just because I think that while we say it could be 5-5, it could be one of these crazy FIFA games back to end, and it might suit both teams in a weird way. I almost think both teams will be a bit cagey to begin with, and I think I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, and you're probably going to say the same about yourselves. So yeah, I'm going to go a score draw 1-1 for me.
1-1. pretty fair. I think a lot of people judging on the chat might say there'll be a score draw in there as well, Rich. But yeah, thank you very much, Rich, for joining us on a Thursday. Been great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It.
I'll speak to you in the end of the season, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll have you back on. I think it's middle of Feb we play you, so we'll have a chat to you then. Cheers, Rich. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
Yeah, no worries. You too.
Cheers, mate.
Take care.
If you pop over to our, I keep wanting to say Twitter, it's X. We have retweeted the podcast that I was on with Rich on Rob Ryan Red. So have a listen to that as well. You'll see a bit more of a Wrexham perspective. And if there are any Wrexham fans watching, we do have post-match after every game. So, within an hour of full time, we'll have stuff up. So if you do want to subscribe to the channel, that would help us out massively. And I know a few Rex fans have said they're already subscribed to it, which is nice to see. George, do you see a clean sheet? I don't want to give away your score prediction, but do you see a clean sheet for Notts? No.
There's too much threat.
Yeah, I can't see it. No. I really can't. We had Gillingham had one chance to score, didn't they?
Pretty much.
There. How do you feel going into this game that it's not playing Wrexham and it's a must win?
Yeah, it does feel a little bit different, doesn't it? It definitely does. It's like the pressure's off a little bit, isn't it? The pressure's off so much as well because there's 3 automatic promotion places, whereas obviously last season that wasn't the case, and it was very much, we need to get promoted this season. It was our 4th season in National League. The pressure's off now, isn't it? Because I mean, so many people have said it. They'd sort of take sort of mid-table to playoffs and stuff like that. And obviously, you want, for me, you just want the team to do as best as they can. And at this moment in time, I think they can get automatic. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot cagier going into the away fixture in Feb, depending on where the teams are. I quite like it to have been reversed where we have the away fixture last, because last season, if we'd have had the home fixture, who knows what would have happened. But I'm not complaining because I'd rather have gone up at Wembley the way we did with that playoff campaign. Let's go for our team then, George, and who we would play. A bit of discussion in the chat about goalkeepers going on right now. Yeah. I think Sam Slocum has to stay in and stop chopping and changing.
I agree with you.
Can't drop him after a clean sheet. I know he didn't have much to do, but I don't remember making a save. I remember a block from Aidan Baldwin, but not necessarily a save.
Yeah, I agree.
This is going to be interesting. What back 3 do we go with? What do you think?
I'm gonna say Macari.
Yeah.
Baldwin.
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah, I agree.
It pains me to leave Rawlinson out because I think he's been really, really good these last couple of weeks. He's not really put a foot wrong. It's just, I think we're going to need to get out as much as possible in this game, and those 3 players for me give you the option of getting the ball out and getting it passed forward.
Yeah.
Not saying Rawlinson can't do that. It's close for me. It is close. I mean, if Rawlinson was in there, I wouldn't mind because I think he has, like I say, he's been good. He's been really good. Yeah,
I think Macari, he's been so calm against Gillingham when he came on. Right, it's not easy to come on your debut in the league. It's so calm against Newport. He made one stray pass I can think of all game. I'm interested to see how he does in this. Like, it's okay, Macari playing up against those teams that had very, very little threat, and he had Johnny Williams for about 50 minutes to deal with. But Paul Mullin, Stephen Fletcher, Elliot Lee, it's going to be different. But I want to see him in there. I'm not sure whether Williams will play him, but I don't think he's done anything worthy of being dropped unless it's for a tactical decision, like someone's just put Cornell's physicality. I would keep him in. Left wing back has to be Jody. He's not best player for me at the minute, especially at the minute. The right back at Newport's probably still like rocking in his bed, like can't believe what happened. He got
waking up sweating.
I haven't seen a player taken to the cleaners like that for a long time. Like genuinely, like do you ever see on social media people complain about all wingers do now is cut back and pass it and don't run at people. Like I feel like I saw an old-fashioned like winger playing on Tuesday.
Yeah,
he just ran to the byline, went to cross it, cut back. literally dribbling around players. How often do you see people dribbling around players these days? Like he was, and I know you'll know this, when you play five-a-side and you just feel like having a good game, which was you pretty much every week, you just feel like you can take on anyone, don't you? I feel like he was flying, absolutely flying. Like,
yeah, he was. He really was. And he is so good. So good. I probably can't articulate how good I think he is.
So good.
Like his technical ability is for me beyond anyone in the squad.
It's ridiculous. And it does go to show, I said this to you on Tuesday, it goes to show how long it does take a great player to really get back into playing football after long term. Because it's not even been a year yet, has it? I think he came in a little bit after October. Someone will put me right there.
That's not, I don't think it has been a year.
Yeah, and he's only... Look, imagine him playing like this in the National League. If he'd have come in and started like this, it would have been ridiculous. I can't remember if he played at the racecourse or not. But then we go to the right, and it's Aaron or Toby. And what do we think here?
Yeah, I think Toby personally. I think Aaron. Look, for me, that is the strongest position we have at the club, because I don't think we need to strengthen there. Whereas sort of everywhere else, I feel like we could potentially use a bit of strengthening.
Yeah.
But for me, it has to be Toby. Someone's just put it in the chat now because of the height, and there's definitely that, definitely. But his crossing is just it's been amazing. So for me, Toby edges it for me.
I'm going to go Toby as well. I think just like I'd be happy with Aaron in there, but the height thing is a genuine like good point to make. Midfield, then I can't see John Bostock being back. I just can't see it.
No. If we get put him on the bench. If we get a free kick, sub him on.
Yeah. Why are you not
sub him off again?
Luke Williams' assistant. That was insightful. That was brilliant. I would go Matty Palmer, and this is where it's difficult. I think I would go Jim O'Brien. Now, in the past two games, for me, he's given the ball away more than anyone combined. But I don't think we can afford not to have Sam Austin in the central midfield position. I think it has to be Jim O'Brien for me.
Yeah,
I can't see anyone else to put in there. I'd love Bostock back, but it doesn't sound promising, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I do agree. I think Jim as well.
Yeah, and then Crowley, Didzi, and Maka.
I'm hoping to a standout performance from Maka.
Yeah, he was very quiet at their place, wasn't he, at the end of last season?
And he was a little bit. Well, he was very quiet against Mansfield as well. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's well aware of it, and I'm hoping that he does have a good game. I'm sure he will. Great to see him score again against him.
Yeah. Someone saying Luke talked about Tipton in midfield. I would be amazed, Adrian, if Tipton came into midfield for this. I would be absolutely amazed. I know he came on late on against Newport, but my gosh, that would be a massive decision. Huge decision.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the score predictions then, George, let's go to the poll.
Let's go to the poll.
It is an important
one. Very important one this week. Very, very important.
I am amazed by those results. You're going to be amazed. What do you?
I'm amazed. I'm looking right now. What's the best carb? Potato gets 38%. Pasta gets 41%. Bread gets 9%. Rice gets 12%.
I am amazed.
I think we've got a lot of Italian magpies watching tonight, Tom.
I love that. Cracking little phrase used there. I voted bread.
I voted bread. When we're talking about versatility, bread is up there.
I was potato.
Pizza's bread. Same down. It's the same down.
Wow. Say that again.
Pizza is bread. It's the same dough.
That's poetic. If I've ever heard that on the channel before.
So yeah, bread, toast. Come on, toast with butter on. Come on.
Do you know what? This is going to sway a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people at home going like this when I say this. Garlic bread.
Oh, Tom.
People are now at home throwing things at walls, saying, "I forgot garlic bread." Do you know what I like?
You can't have a hash brown cob without bread.
You can't. You can't have a hash brown jacket potato, can you?
Exactly.
Do you know what I like? I'm posh to a focaccia. I love a focaccia bread. I do.
Yeah, no, it's spot on,
Lovely.
mate.
Dip in
Absolutely
something
spot on.
before you've had tapas or something. Oh,
Yeah, a bit of a balsamic vinegar. Come on,
yeah.
getting
Yeah.
going here.
Do you know what? Does it class as bread? But I'm a big fan of bagels.
That's bread, mate.
It's bread, isn't it?
Do you know how they make bagels?
Say again.
Do you know how bagels are made?
Yeah, they're boiled, aren't they?
How mad is that?
It's mad. But anyway, I can't believe that. Pasta, I can see why it's got a lot of votes. Pasta's insane. But I think bread, 9%, the lowest. I personally thought rice would have a very low percentage. But that's the kind of insight you get if you're a Wrexham fan and you want more.
Do you get an Indian and not get naan bread?
Exactly.
What's going on tonight?
Exactly. I know you get rice and Indian, but if someone said to me you can have rice or the naan bread, you're having naan bread every time.
You're not having pasta, right?
You're not.
Ridiculous.
Crazy. Right, score prediction then. I'm a bit shook up after that, I'll be honest with you. I can't think straight. I'm going to put it out there. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Because you actually got the Gillingham score right, didn't you?
Oh my God. Can't believe it.
And I got the Newport
I was
score
dreaming.
right.
Did you?
Yeah, I said 3-0 at the start of the video. Do you remember walking to the ground?
Right. Change the channel name.
Do you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say 2-0 Nars. I'm going to say it. Lewis McCorry on his own in defence. We're going to play like a 1-6-3. McCorry on his own. No, I'm going to go 2-0, you know. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't. What are you going with?
I'm going to go with this result for the rest of the season. 2-1. 2-1 not.
2-1. Fair enough. I can't say. I'm going to say Crowley scores a header. And I'm going to say Jody scores. Turns that Jacob Mendy inside out. Yeah. Left, right, up, down, whatever. Adrian's gone 3-2. Wrexham. 3-2 knots against Wrexham. Crowley, Maka, Didsey, Mullin and Lee to get theirs. We've got 2-1. Maka times 2. We've got a 4-1 here. That'll be good. Out of the traps like a missile. Dodgy pen to Wrexham. There's a dodgy pen coming soon. We've got Dave Woolley who's going 4-1 to Wrexham. We've got a 4-4 there. We've got, are these Ian's the same Ian? We've got a 4-4 there as well. We've got a 6-0 Macquarie and Jim hat-tricks. Here it is. We've got a 4-2 Chicks and hat-trick, Jody Jones screamer. We've got a 4-3 Maka hat-trick and Jody. We've got a 3-1. We've got a 2-0. Mark's going with me, the 2-0. Cameron would love to score in front of the cop, wouldn't he? He'd love to score. We've got a 3-2 Crowley, Palmer, and Maka, and we'll finish there. I've got one more. We'll put it in 2-2, and then we'll go with this one from Big Meech 3-1 Knots, Marias, Brace. We talked about instant heroes, George. That would make Marias an instant hero, wouldn't it?
It would, mate.
It really, really would. As always, thank you for joining us. Our Platinum channel members at the bottom, you can see there. Help us out massively. And thank you to all our channel members. We really do appreciate it. The Platinum members coasters have been sent out, so they should be arriving very, very soon. If you would like to see any post-match, we're going to aim to have it out within an hour of full time. It's going to be a big one this week. It's all black and white, episode 13, hopefully not an unlucky one. If you are a fan that hasn't yet subscribed to the channel, please do, because it helps out massively. We're on that way to 3,200. Safe travels to any Wrexham fans and indeed Notts fans going to the game. And as always, please don't forget to like and comment anything else you can think of.